Okay, so now we're going to look at nutrition. It's one of the kind of most asked about things in this fitness industry, especially in people that want to build muscle. They want to know what you want to eat. So there's different ways of eating depending on what your goals are. So, but a general very good diet to help you build muscle and keep your fat low would be one that I would tend to follow, something like this in the off season. So breakfast almost always starts with oats and a piece of fruit. And then you also need protein for breakfast. So one of the main points and one of the great reasons about using protein powders is they're convenient. So what you can do is you can boil a kettle, stick that on your oats, let that get nice and hot and soaked up, and chop your banana up and add 2 scoops of protein. So I use LA whey protein, and I mix in 2 scoops of vanilla or banana, normally with a banana, and about 60 to 70 grams of oats. And the next meal I'd have that follows that would be a snack, and this is a smaller size meal because you've just had breakfast literally a couple of hours after, and we're talking about 10 or 11 a.m. Now a lot of people are in a rush then, they may be at work, in an office, and they can't get to real food. So what I use at that time myself if I'm rushed between my clients is a product from Sports Kitchen, and it's like basically it's a quality protein. It's 30 grams of protein, 30 grams of low glycemic carbs, hardly any fat, and they do a variety of flavours. Jerk chicken and rice is typically my favourite. You just add boiling water and leave it for 2 minutes. So I mean, for people that are stuck in offices, they've almost always got a kettle. These are great for that scenario. I also use them when I go travelling and I'll stay in hotels. Almost every hotel gives you a kettle in the room, so there's no excuse to order the worst room service in the world. You can still keep your protein levels high and the quality of nutrition high on the go. So we're looking at lunch, and most people get a decent lunch break. And what I normally have is, because I'm a big believer in fish, is some white fish here. I've got tilapia, about 200 grams, and a jacket potato with some salad. So there isn't any oil or dressing on that, but what I would typically do is add 1 spoon of Udo's oil. And Udo's oil is one of the best products to use, but you must keep it in the fridge. So I've got ours here in the fridge. And what we do is I'd have, as I say, a spoonful of that onto my salad, and then later in the day I may add it onto my rice, something like that. So you're looking at 2 to 3 spoons a day, and everyone, whether you're a bodybuilder or a grandma, should use this stuff. Okay, so then mid-afternoon you should be looking at getting another quality meal, and an easy thing to eat for almost everyone is chicken and rice. So we've got chicken and rice with some cucumber here, and you're looking again about 200 grams of chicken, which has just been flavoured with some seasoning, and then basmati rice, because it's easier to eat in the off season. If I was coming into competition, I may change my carb sources from white rice, white potato to sweet potato and brown rice through the day. But these are very good carb sources regardless. They won't make you fat if you eat a balanced meal. So when you look at your plate, I might divide it into a third, and there should be a third of it protein, a third of it carbs, and roughly a third of it with some vegetables or green stuff like salad, that kind of thing. Then probably after this meal I'd train. So before I train, I would always take LA Muscle, do a BCAA, and it's in a ratio of 3:1:1, which means you get 3 times the amount of leucine to valine and isoleucine, which are the 3 amino acids. And leucine's the most anabolic, so it stops your muscles breaking down whilst you train, and it's very good to take just as you're about to train and just when you finish. And I typically take about 6 of these before and after training. And following taking my branched chain aminos, when I finish training, within about 10 minutes of finishing, I'll probably blend together again the LA whey, and I'd have 2 scoops, and really it depends on the size of you. If you're very small or you're a female, 1 scoop would be adequate. If you're over 200 pounds or so, you'd be looking at having 2 scoops of this. And then I'd also get some fast digesting carbs, and Vitago are one of the best carbohydrate sources at this time, because they contain no sugar. They're a very fast replacement of glycogen and energy in your body. But the main thing that's great about them is they don't bloat you. So if you have too many foods that slow your digestion down after training, it prevents your body recovering and repairing very well. You can have a meal after training, obviously, But meals tend to break down in sort of 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours, depending on the food you eat. Whereas quality whey and Vitago will break down in about 40, 45 minutes, something like that, which allows you to eat again about an hour after you finish training. So that meal's later in the night now, so I do definitely change to low glycemic carbs and a slower digesting protein source. So at this time I tend to have something like 2 salmon fillets, there's about 200 grams of fish. And again, I said I'm a big believer in fish. With these potatoes here are sweet potatoes, they're slightly different, they have a sweeter texture, which helps curb that sweet tooth craving in the evening as well, with some green beans. And on that I would probably put another spoon of Udo's oil. So that takes us up to probably about 8 or 9 o'clock. And then before bed, say 11 o'clock, a couple of hours after the last meal, I'd always go to bed with a protein source, again the best quality protein you can get, LA whey, and I'll take 2 scoops of that in water. But to slow the digestion of the whey down, I'll add in some peanut butter, and I use Monkey Nut Spread because they're a great product and they have zero sugar in, no added salt, no added junk that you find in Sunpat and the rest of them. This is basically just pure ground nuts and they taste fantastic. A lot of people I know use peanut butter and they might buy from the health shop, but anyone that's tried that stuff is very dry and hard to get down. So you can either take a couple of spoonfuls in your mouth or mix it in the blender with your protein shake. Just gives it a nicer taste. But more importantly, it slows the digestion over the night whilst you're asleep. So you stay anabolic through the night as opposed to your body looking for the nutrients because you've been training and it looks for things when it wants to. So if you're sleeping 8 or 9 hours, you wouldn't do that in the day. You wouldn't spend 8 or 9 hours in the day without eating. You should eat every 3 hours, maybe every 3 to 4 hours at a maximum. So if you take something at night, make sure you slow the digestion of it down so it doesn't leave you 8 hours without food. You'll be about 4 hours, if you typically sleep for 8 hours, before you wake up and you have your breakfast. If you can do that every day, and that includes Sundays, Saturday nights and the rest of it, then you will start making progress. But these are the type of foods that I tend to eat in the off season. They're easy to eat, they shouldn't bloat you too much, but they will help you gain quality muscle.